All right, here we go. We're going to go over example 3, identifying perfect squares in chapter 1, section 2, powers and exponents. All right, so our first example, or what we're trying to figure out in this example, is identifying perfect squares. So what does that mean? Well, let's think of, first of all, a square. What makes a square a square? Well, a square is a square because all of the sides are equal lengths. So when we're identifying perfect squares, we want to figure out, can this number, in this case 64, be a square in that can two numbers multiply together, that's the same number, to equal 64? Okay, so to figure that out, let's look at our multiplication chart, which I have over here on the right. And we want to figure out, can two numbers that are the same number multiply together to get 64? So for example, I'm going to look at 1 times 1. Well, that's 1. So that would be a perfect square. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. So 4 would be a perfect square because both sides would be 2. Okay, 3 times 3 is 9, so 9 would be a perfect square. So let's look along here, and the perfect squares happen to be highlighted in yellow. So can you find 64 on our multiplication chart? Let's see, I'm just going to go along here diagonally. Oh, we found it. 64 is a perfect square, and we know that because 8 times 8 is 64. So I would write yes, because we're answering, is 64 a perfect square? Yes, because 8 times 8 equals 64. Okay, so 8 times 8, well, we can write that as an exponent, right? Because our base is going to be 8. And how many 8s do you see? 1, 2. So our exponent is going to be 2. So we just learned that 8 squared, 8 to the second power, and when you see the exponent is 2, you just say squared. So 8 squared is 64, which makes 64 a perfect square. Okay, now let's see. We're given the number 20. We want to figure out, is 20 a perfect square? Can we have two sides multiply together and be the same number? Will that get us to 20? Okay, so let's look on our multiplication chart again. Because on this chart, all of the perfect squares are highlighted, right? All of the 5 times 5, each number times itself is highlighted. Okay, so let's see. Let's see if 20 is highlighted. It's not. We go from 16 to 25. So to answer the question, no. 20 is not a perfect square. So 20 is not a perfect square because let's look at the numbers in between 20. So 16 is a perfect square. So because 4 times 4 equals 16. And what's the number after 20? 25. What times what equals 25? Oh, 5 times 5. So 4 times 4 is 16, and 5 times 5 equals 25. Okay, so that's it. That's how you find a perfect square. So you need to look on your multiplication chart and see if you can get two numbers that are the same, can multiply together to get that number. And that's how you find out if it's a perfect square. All right. Good luck on your assignment.